wondered about the third pillar of health alongside diet and exercise? Surprisingly, the absence of this pillar causes more accidents than those caused by drugs and alcohol combined. Do you want to know about the longest and the largest unsupervised drugs that you and I consume in various forms? Then stay tuned. If you skip watching this video, you will regret missing out on the big lessons that can make a world of difference to your health and happiness. Welcome back to my channel. In this episode of the Book Corner series, let's explore a seminal piece of work on sleep by Matthew Walker, a Harvard University professor and director of its sleep and neuroimaging lab. But first, why did I choose this book? My friend Vishy, an avid reader, strongly recommended this book. I also found out that it's one of the favorite books of influential people like Bill Gates, Vinod Khosla and many others. Today in this episode, I will cover the following areas: circadian rhythm, stages of sleep, sleep loss and memory, caffeine's impact on sleep, teen sleep, dangers of sleep deprivation, and actionable insights. We often focus on our activities when we are awake, like studying, working, eating, drinking, and going about our day. But one fundamental aspect that is often overlooked is sleep. Now let's dive into the topic of circadian rhythm. The powerful force of 24 hours that shapes our daily routine and influences when we sleep and when we wake up is the circadian rhythm. It affects our moods, body temperature, metabolism, release of hormones, and much more. Now, with a little bit of understanding on the circadian rhythm, let's move on to explore a little bit about morning larks and night owls. Morning larks are morning types who wake up early in the morning, and night owls prefer going to bed late and waking up late the following morning. Are you curious about why few people are morning larks and others are night owls? For that, we'll have to go back to our roots when humans used to live and sleep in a group, not alone or not in pairs. As a tribe, morning larks used to sleep from 9 p.m. till 5 a.m. and night owls used to sleep from 1 a.m. to 9 a.m. This collective schedule ensured that the tribe's vulnerability was reduced just to 4 hours between 1 a.m. and 5 a.m. instead of 8 hours, and thereby increasing the chances of survivability by 50%. Now let's move into the next topic, which is the stages of sleep. Our brain goes through two stages of sleep. One is REM, rapid eye movement, and NREM, non-rapid eye movement. These stages alternate in roughly 90-minute cycle, starting with NREM sleep followed by REM sleep. In the first half of the night, deep NREM sleep dominates and REM sleep is minimal. This balance shifts in the second half, with REM sleep increasing and NREM sleep decreasing. If you go to bed at midnight and wake up at 6 a.m., you have slept for 6 hours instead of 8 hours, and you would want to believe that you have missed out only on 25% of your sleep. But please realize that the brain craves for REM sleep in the late morning. Sleeping for 6 hours instead of 8 hours and getting up early could lead to 60 to 90% of REM sleep loss. It works both ways. If you go to bed late and wake up at 6 in the morning, you're going to lose out on the major portion of your non-REM sleep, which affects your long-term memory. So instead of bragging about the late Netflix binges or workouts all the night, remember to focus on what really matters, which is getting a solid 8 hours of sleep. In a couple of minutes from now, I'll be sharing actionable insights from this book that we all can use. Now let's move in to understand how loss of sleep can affect our memory and cognitive functions. Sleeping the night before learning is important, as napping helps improve an individual's capacity to memorize. Similarly, after learning, sleep acts like a save button for newly acquired information. Now let us get to know the longest and the largest unsupervised drug in the world that most of us consume, which is caffeine. Caffeine is not only the most widely used or rather abused drug in the world, but is also the second most traded commodity on the planet after oil. In the 1980s, NASA conducted an unusual study on spiders when they exposed them to various forms of drugs, namely LSD, speed, marijuana, and caffeine. When exposed to caffeine, spiders struggled to make normal functional webs. which were worse off than the webs that were created when the spiders were exposed to LSD, speed, and marijuana. By the way, does LSD ring a bell? Yes, there is an intriguing connection to this channel's name where LSD stands for Life School Diaries and nothing else. Going back to caffeine and its impact, understand that the caffeine consumed by body is cleansed by an enzyme in the liver which gradually degrades the liver over time. Also note that it takes 8 hours for your brain to cleanse off the caffeine you drank. We should be cognizant that caffeine is not present only in coffee but also in sodas, colas, chocolates, iced tea, green tea, black tea, chocolate flavored ice creams, and many more products. Moving on from caffeine, let's move to teen sleep. Most 16-year-olds drive recklessly because their brains are not fully developed yet, specifically the frontal lobe, which controls decision making and impulse control. Most psychiatric disorders emerge during childhood and adolescence due to abnormal brain development. Adequate sleep is vital for teens' mental health, as lack of sleep is linked to suicidal thoughts and attempts, especially considering suicide is a leading cause of death in young adults. Parents should understand and allow their teens to sleep late and wake up late as their brains are still developing. Before we move further, ever wondered who Netflix CEO thinks is their competition? Stay tuned to find out. Building on from here, now let's look at dangers of sleep deprivation. You do not know how sleep deprived you are when you are sleep deprived. Dr. Terman, a Stanford psychologist, found that regardless of age, children who slept longer were more intellectually gifted. There are many things that the author wants you to take away from this book, but he's particular about one thing, which is to not drive while you're drowsy, as drowsy driving causes more accidents than the accidents caused by consumption of alcohol and drugs combined. Adults over 45 who sleep less than 6 hours are at a risk of heart attacks and strokes. Many individuals believe that having alcohol helps them sleep easily and also offers sounder sleep, but both are untrue. If you're asked to work for more than 70 hours a week, go ask your manager or HR why there's no policy on insufficient sleep, given the workplace focus on smoking, substance abuse, as lack of sleep also affects health. Having learned critical things on sleep, now let's see how we can action these insights. Actionable insight number 1. Avoid caffeine, nicotine and alcohol before bedtime. Avoid heavy meals and excessive water intake before sleep. Relax before bed through activities like reading or listening to good music. Ensure your sleeping environment is dark, free of gadgets, and as clean as an operation theatre. If there's only one piece of advice you take from this book, let it be this. Just as you set an alarm to wake up, also set one to go to sleep on time. Now moving to the point on what Netflix CEO said, and I quote, "You know what? Think about it. When you watch a show on Netflix and you get addicted to it, you stay up late at night. We are competing with sleep. So it's decision time for you to take a call whether you would want to prioritize your sleep over late night activities like movies, partying, or binge watching. Please remember, be it at school, college, or work, staying out late isn't worth it." I remember the tweet from the CEO co-founder of Zerodha, Nitin Kamath, where he mentioned that sleeping less and working more is glorified when it should not be. Let's be real. Even if I'm explaining the importance of sleep from the book Why We Sleep, it's not worth watching at 2 a.m. I strongly recommend you grab a copy of this book, read it, and get enlightened. As Ralph Waldo Emerson said, "To know one life has breathed easier because you have lived, this is to have succeeded." Sharing this video with friends, family, colleagues, and neighbors is free, yet its impact could be significant for those who could benefit. Consider sharing this video with your parents or managers, especially if they are the reason you're staying up late. Maybe they'll get the message. Please buy this book and other recommended books from the links in the description. If you have a great book for me to review, please leave it in the comments. I'll be back again soon. Kishore signing off.